Welcome back, CAF members. Derek Lacelle here, FSI, TPI certified coach at the Carling campus. We're here to conclude week number 8, which is the last week of your golf fundamentals and fitness program. We've covered a wide variety of things so far over the course of the first 7 weeks, looking at the basic fundamentals of the movement through the swing with Marc-André, and I've provided you with a bunch of different mobility exercises to help move better, and then corrective and strength exercises to help strengthen those areas that you need help on if any of those fundamental basics are something that you're working on. What we're going to give for you today is going to be something a little bit different. We've talked about the swing, we've talked about how to move, we've talked about a lot of different things that actually have to do with the swing. But what comes first before you get to the course is the pre-round routine, or the pre-round dynamic warm-up range routine, whatever you want to call it, whatever you do before you play. Most people get out onto the course, you know, they arrive to the course 5 minutes before their tee off time. They're basically running to that first tee. Or if they're not doing that, they get to the driving range, they take out the driver, smash about 3 or 4 drivers, and then maybe hit 2 or 3 putts, and they're ready to go. That stuff is a recipe for one thing, not being prepared, you know, in terms of mentally thinking about your game, whether, you know, you're visualizing how you want to play, making those shots. 2, risking injury. The one thing that we don't want to do is risk injury or get injured while we're playing. We enjoy the sport, so we want to make sure that you are able to play for as long as you can, as many times as you can throughout the course of the summer. And the way we're going to do this is by giving you a good warm-up routine and a good range routine to get you started. You just have to be committed to, you know, devoting a little bit more time before your round to make sure that you're playing your best and you're ready to play your best. Your body is in peak shape when it gets to the course to avoid any of those injuries, and being able to swing the way you want to as soon as you get there. So we're going to start with me today. Pre-round routine, dynamic warm-up. You'll probably see some of the exercises that we've done in the past incorporated in this, but we're going to go over a quick lower body, upper body routine, and then activation of the muscles that you're going to use mostly in that golf swing. Okay, so what we're going to start with is lower body. We're going to work our way up, and then we'll do the activation exercises, and Marc-André will follow with a range routine that he likes to use before he goes out and plays. First exercise is going to be a knee hug. So knee hugs, we're just going to alternate pulling the knee to the chest, stretching out the glutes here, and working on a little bit of balance. So I'm just grabbing my 2 hands, driving the knee up towards the chest, looking for a stretch in the back of the hip. All these you're just going to do 1 set, 10 to 15 reps per side. Second exercise is going to be internal and external hip circles. So you can do this kneeling, or you can do it standing. Okay, again, working on balance. So I'm thinking of bringing my knee up and over an imaginary hurdle. External will be going from the inside to the outside. So I'll do 10 to 15 of these per leg. And then I'll go in the opposite direction. So I'm going to think about going over the hurdle in this direction, going outside to inside. Just like that. So outside to inside, working on hip rotation, trying to open up those hip muscles for that swing a little bit more. Then you have leg swings. Okay, so leg swings, if you want, you can hold on to something, maybe a wall. We have the front to back leg swing. So in the front to back leg swing, we're opening up the hip flexor as we bring the leg back, and then we stretch out the hamstring as we bring the leg forward. The key here is to just let it flow and keep the leg straight. It doesn't really matter how high you're going with this. We're going to go for 10 to 15 on one side, and then 10 to 15 on the other side. making sure you're not overarching the back and rounding. So I'm not moving through the upper body. I'm really just focused on moving through the lower body. Second type of leg swing, I'm going to face the wall here, and then I'll just show you facing you, but hands on the wall, across the body, and out. So now we're working on abduction, which is pulling away from the body, and adduction, which is pulling towards the body. And again, we just sort of let it flow. 10 to 15 reps on one side. A little bit of a rotation in the hip so I can point my toe out, point my toe in. So out, in, just like that, okay? So a little bit easier if you're holding on to something. It could be a wall, you could have a golf club or a dowel to give yourself a little bit of stability there. Number 4, we have the Samson stretch. So Samson stretch, a nice big lunge where I reach overhead with my arms, feeling a stretch in the back hip, and then I push myself back to standing. The key here, everything's dynamic. You're trying to get the muscles fired up, so you don't want to hold your stretch in a static position for more than, I would say, 3 seconds at a time. But here we're stretching that lateral side and the back hip as we reach up, and then we're going to alternate back and forth. Again, 10 to 15 reps per side. That's all you need to do, one set for these. From there, a supported pelvic rotation. So we want to focus on turning those hips a little bit. So I'm grabbing a dowel or my golf club so I can hold this a little bit further down. Without pushing my knees front to back, I'm going to think about rotating my hips side to side, avoiding the sway and the slide. So it's not a lateral movement, it's really a half circle that you're drawing with your hips, pushing them one side and the other side, getting ready for that turn and the turn in the backswing, right? So turn, turn is what we're looking for. 10 to 15 reps per side. 2 more for the lower body. Focus on the hamstrings so that when it comes time to addressing your ball and staying down through your swing, because those hamstrings, if they're tight, it's going to be harder for you to do that. We have the scoops. So scoops, you got a bent knee, straight leg with the front leg with the toe pointed up. You're going to scoop towards the ground, and then you're going to switch. Here I'm getting a stretch in my calf and my hamstring on the straight leg. The back leg, the bent knee, is the one that is supporting. So we're just going to alternate back and forth as you get more and more comfortable. Maybe you're getting closer and closer to the ground with that stretch. From there, this is the only one that I'm going to tell you probably 10 to 15 reps might be too much. Just 3 to 4 reps of this one, the inchworm. So the inchworm, feet together, we're going to bow. So we're sending the hips back, hinging from the hips, reaching for the toes. We're going to walk the hands into a plank position. And then from here, you're going to walk your hands back to your feet, trying to keep your legs as straight as possible. Then you would stand. So it's the hinge first. Try and keep the legs straight for maximum stretch. Reach for the toes. Walk out to a plank. And then as I push my hands back in, I send my hips up to the ceiling as I reach for my toes. Okay? 3 to 4, maybe maximum 5 of those before you get started. Those are your lower body dynamic movements. We're moving on to upper body. All of this shouldn't take you too long. We're just trying to get the muscles awake before we hit the course. So number 1 for the upper body is going to be a side-lying thoracic spine opener or a T-spine opener. So knees together. I'm lying on my right side. Right hand grabs the left knee. Head is relaxed. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a big deep inhale and we're going to exhale and rotate. And as I rotate, I want to keep my knees together close to the ground. And I come back. My hand that's rotating should be at least in line with my shoulders. If not, a little bit higher to maximize the stretch in the chest as well. But what we're really looking for is a twist in that upper spine, okay? If you're somebody who's super flexible through the chest and it's easy for you to get to the ground, you can always hook your foot underneath your knee, just like this, and have the one knee on the ground, and you'll see that it'll lock you up a little bit more. If that's still too easy, then you can just think about rotating and trying to get your opposite shoulder to the ground so that you're really opening up through that thoracic spine. Number 2, we have the lateral child's pose. So this one's to open up that lateral side of the body. Good for taking the club back on the backswing. You want to have a nice relaxed lat. So we're going to go wide with the feet, or wide with the knees, close with the feet. We're going to reach out as far as we can. And then from here, we're going to reach our hands. So I'm going to the right. I'm going to put my left hand over my right hand, and I'm going to lean into the stretch. Not holding for too long. I'm going to sway back to the other side. Lean into that stretch. So I'm just looking for a nice stretch in the lateral portion. So if I have left over right, I'm looking for a nice stretch in the lateral portion of the left side. And as I go back to my left, and I have my right over my left, then I'm looking for a nice stretch in the lateral part of my left side. Exercise number 3. We have cat and cow. Okay, cat and cow, standard yoga movement here, just trying to move through the spine, get the spine awake. So we're going from an arched position where I'm gazing forward and up, and then I'm gonna round, tuck my tailbone under, spread my shoulder blades, try and get as much movement in my thoracic spine as possible. So it's arch and round. And I don't want you just to think about moving through that lower spine. I want you to try and move through the upper spine as much as possible as well. So don't forget, it's tailbone to the sky, chin and chest to the sky, and then tuck the tailbone under, spread the shoulder blades, push into the ground, round out as much as possible. Exercise number 4, we have the quadruped reach back. Okay, so quadruped just means on all fours. You can go down to your elbow if you want. You can stay on your hand. One hand on the ear. We're going to go elbow to elbow. And then without moving the lower body, we're going to try and reach. Exhale, elbow towards the ceiling. And then back down. So it's inhale, elbow to elbow. Exhale, elbow to ceiling, and I'm trying to avoid lateral shifting in my hips. I really want that movement to come from the upper torso. From there, continuing some rotation. Now we're going to do it in a half kneeling position. So one leg forward. So if my left leg is forward, right knee's on the ground, we're going to use a dowel for this one, or a golf club. We're going to put it on our back, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep inhale. We're going to go for half kneeling dowel rotations. So just rotate as far as you can and come back. So it's inhale, exhale, rotate. Come back. Inhale, exhale, rotate. Notice my front foot. Okay, my front foot isn't rolling, my knee isn't rolling out. I'm trying to keep my knee actually pushing inwards as I rotate. And my gaze will always follow that back shoulder. So inhale, exhale, gaze follows the back shoulder. I'm trying to get as much rotation as possible. For this one, isolateral, what you do on one side, you're going to do on the other side. The last one for the upper body before we hit our activation exercises is going to be a shoulder pass-throughs. So you can go as wide or as narrow as you want, but the more narrow you go, the harder it is to get your arms over your head. So it's good to start nice and wide. Arms stay straight. You're gonna shrug up. We're gonna bring the dowel up and over to our butt and then back, okay? You can do this with a resistance band as well if you want to. That's totally fine. As I get more comfortable, as I get warmer through the shoulders, maybe I start bringing my hands in a little bit closer. But the key here is to keep those elbows locked out as you go up and over so that you know that the stretch is coming from the chest and the shoulders. Those are your dynamic warm-up exercises. Now we go to activate the glutes, the real power movers in your golf swing. So the first one you can do with or without a band. If you have a band out, it's going to give you a little bit of resistance. If you don't have a band, that's fine. You can do this without a band and just imagine that you're pushing out against a band. But the first one is going to be standing glute activation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put the band around the mid shin. I'm going to stabilize on one side, okay? So all my weight is on my left side, hip, ankle, knee in one line, making sure the knee doesn't dive in here. And I'm just going to press out almost like I'm skating. So I'm going back on a 45-degree angle. I feel the glute that's supporting engage, but I also feel the glute that's pushing away do some work as well. What I'll do on one side, I'm going to do on the other side as well. So driving away, keeping all that weight supported on one leg, and using the opposite glute to push away. Again, in the activation exercises, if you have time, you can do 2 sets, but 1 set just to get the muscles firing is going to be more than enough if you have limited time. Okay, so we're going to go for 10 to 12 reps per side if you're doing movements that require both sides to move. If you're doing a movement like the next one, which is called a goblet squat, where you're just going to grab a weight, you're going to hold it underneath the chin, and then from there we're going to take our squat stance. So feet shoulder width apart with the toes slightly turned out, holding it underneath the chin. We're going to send the hips back and down, driving the knees out, finding the bottom of your squat, so trying to get the heels to stay on the ground and your hips below your knees, and then we stand up. So we're getting full movement in the hips here, and we're waking up those legs, the power drivers in your golf swing. So hips back and down, chest stays up, elbows stay high away from the knees. And again, we're going to go for 10 to 12 of those. From there, grab your golf club or your dowel that you have near. We're going to warm up the hamstrings a little bit. So we've stretched them out. Now we start to get them to move. So the next one's called a good morning. Feet underneath the hips. We're going to go back with the hips till there's a stretch in the hamstrings. Squeeze the butt in the hamstrings to stand yourself up. And that's key here, is you want to make sure that you're going from that hinge position to a fully extended position where your glutes are engaged and you're squeezing them at the top. In terms of what your back should look like, nice flat back as you hinge from the hips. Only a slight bend in the knee as you go down. So you're not squatting with this one. We're not bending through the knees too much. It's just basically unlocking the knees, and the rest of the movement comes from the hips. It's a hip hinge, okay? And that'll take us to movement number 4, which is a deadlift. So you can do a deadlift with your golf club if you don't have any weights at home. If you have some light weights, you can go ahead and do a couple of dumbbell or barbell deadlifts. So hands right along the thighs, the feet are underneath the hips, so a relatively narrow stance. I'm pulling my shoulders back to keep my upper back engaged, and from here the dumbbells or the barbell stay against my thighs, hips go back. Once I pass my knees, I can start bending through the knees my hips are always slightly lower than my shoulders. Hips back and down and stand. Keeping the dumbbells nice and close. You can stop at just below the knees if you want to. If you want to go to the mid-shin position, then just make sure that you are actually lowering your hips by bending the knees. So here, not much knee bend. Once I start going down, I start bending my knees so that my back angle stays the same. No rounding in the back to make sure that it's protected. And we're warming up those glutes, which are the king of the swing, right? So those are gonna have the most effect of the power, that drive and extension through your swing. I got 3 more exercises for you, and then we'll pass you off to Mark for the pre-round range routine. So lateral lunge plus torso rotation. Grab that golf club or the dowel. We're gonna step out to the side. From there, we send the hips back and down, and then you're gonna rotate the torso over top of the bent knee. Come back to center, step back together. Switch sides. Nice big stance. Hips back first, then rotation, and together. As you get comfortable with this, you can actually make it one movement, right? So I can step out, lunge, rotate, back. Step out, lunge, rotate, back. I don't have to make it 3 different movements. Last 2, we're going to activate the upper back and back of the shoulders to get the arms in good positions as you rotate in your backswing and follow through. So our band pull apart. So you just grab a resistance band here, any type of light band, thumbs up or out, shoulder blades pinched together, and back. Keeping the arms nice and straight. Really think about squeezing your shoulder blades together, keeping the neck as relaxed as possible. All these 10 to 12 reps, 1 set. Last one, let's get that core firing a little bit. Let's get some disassociation. So getting used to getting the hips through first and then the torso through. This one's called the disassociation plank. So for this one, what we're looking for, feet a little bit wider, hands a little bit closer together. I lift my right arm, just trying to rotate my upper body and keep my lower body square to the ground. Bring that right arm down and I go right knee to left elbow. Then I switch. Left arm turns, left arm down, left knee to right elbow. So it's upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, and we're trying to separate the two so that we can create a little bit more power in our golf swing. Those are a bunch of different exercises. You don't have to do all of these exercises to get you ready. They're just examples of things that you can do. Either do them all, pick or choose, depending on where you find your tightness is. Is it in the hips? Is it in the hamstrings? Is it just in the upper body? You can mix and match any of these exercises, but they're great warm-up exercises that you can do at home just before you jump in the car, head to the golf course, and then follow Marc-André's tips for the pre-round range routine so that you're ready to play your best golf. We'll see you later, CAF members.
Good day, golfers. Marc-André Piette from the Teaching and Fitting Center at Hylands Golf Club. Today we're getting ready to play golf. So the goal of the lesson today is really to give you a good golf warm-up that you're going to do before your golf game. So common things that I see too often with members and guests that comes here at the golf course. First thing, they're going to arrive with no time to spare before their tee time. They're going to get to the driving range, they're going to hit 2 shots, and then they're going to pound 50 drivers in a row to try to hit it as far as you can. So really the goal, and try to get to the golf course as much as you can, 25 minutes prior to your round, just to be able to hit a small bucket like this. All we need to do first off, we need to warm up our muscles. Derek is going to show us, or showed us, how to have our body engaged already. But also what we really want to do is to see how our body is feeling and what kind of ball flight we're going to have. Because from a day to another, depending on what you've done the day before or how your body is, you might not always see the same ball flight, and you got to make sure that you come and warm up on the range to see what you're going to expect on the golf course. So the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to grab a wedge or shorter clubs and just make some 3/4 swings or half swings, just to try to make contact with the golf ball in the middle of the club face. So about 6 to 7 shots just with a short club that you're going to take half or quarter swings. The second thing you're going to do, you're going to grab a mid iron and you're just going to try to do full rotation back and through. Again, without worrying too much about technique. The last thing you want to do before a round of golf is to be working very specific on a certain position that you're trying to achieve in your swing, and try to be very, very conscious about the entire swing. What you're trying to do, again, we're not working on our golf swing, we're warming up. So working on your golf swing you do on a separate day of golfing, or you do after a round. If you're really trying to change something in your golf swing, don't do it before the round or on the golf course. So first off, a couple wedges. Second off, you're going to take full swings with a mid iron. Then depending on the golf course that you're going to play, if you have a golf course that has very tight fairways and you need to have a secure shot off the tee that is playable, then you're going to grab your longest comfortable club in your bag. So either a long iron, a hybrid, or a fairway wood. You're going to hit a couple shots of that. And then, and only then, once your body is fully warmed up, you're going to hit a handful of drivers, but no more than about a dozen. And once you're comfortable with the last driver you've hit, I personally like to go back to wedges, because those are my scoring clubs. And then the very last thing I'm going to do before my round of golf, I'm going to play the first 2 holes in my head. So I'm going to go through my full pre-shot routine. So I'm going to step behind the golf ball, grab a good target line, and then hit a driver. And then depending on what golf course I'm playing, I know that here at Hylands on hole number 1 north, it's probably going to be a wedge that I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit a wedge. Then on the second hole, it's going to be a driver, then a long iron, then a wedge. So that way I really kind of put my mind into the golf course. And from there I'm going to leave and then spend some time on the putting green that we cannot forget about. We must have a feeling of the speed of the greens, and then I'm ready for the first tee. So I'll take you on what my warm-up looks like. We're going to speed it up for you a little bit to make you see that, like, with just a handful of balls or a small bucket of balls, I can be ready for the golf course, and then we'll see you soon.
And this concludes our 8-week golf fundamentals and fitness program. We would like to thank you for tuning along with us over the course of these last 8 weeks. We really hope that these tips, tricks, and exercises that we have provided you over the past few weeks will really benefit your golf game. We look forward to doing more collaborations together between Hylands and PSP Fitness to bring some new and innovative ideas for the CAF members. I hope that you guys have a great golf season, and we'll see you on the course.